You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Orgy again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football. All I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line? It is Tuesday, October 29th, episode number 143. Britt Dillard joined here by Joseph West. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, Britt. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
That's right. We ready to go?
Yeah.
I hope everybody had a fabulous week of watching college football games. It was a great weekend to watch football. Britt, we're starting out with the Doors here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Starting out with the Doors. The Doors took on the Texas Longhorns this past weekend in Nashville. Final score of 27-24. When you look at the game, I think you start a lot of places. Ultimately, though, we'll start just a first half and a second half breakdown. First half, I thought Vanderbilt's defense struggled, giving up 21 points. Texas does have a good offense, but the defense they missed tackles. They got to tackle better. You just busted coverage, got beaten man over the top for one of the touchdowns. That's going to happen. So not too mad about that one. But it was kind of a tale of two halves. Vanderbilt turned it on more in the second half, as offensively scoring 14 and just looked better offensively, moving the football. Turnovers kind of stumped them. Diego Pavia was 16 of 29, 143 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. When you look at it that way, it's his worst game as a Commodore. He still played relatively well, 16 carries, 67 yards rushing and a touchdown. Vanderbilt's defense, though, not to be too hard on them. On the very first possession of the game, they got a pick. Langston Patterson batted one up in the air, and we got an interception, and that led to 7 points. And that was Vanderbilt's only touchdown in the first half was when they got the ball from the defense at Texas's 40. So offense, first rough game of the year, it's going to happen. Texas' defensive line is big. Texas' defense is good.
Their defense is really good.
So, it's not nothing to be too discouraged about. I think when you look at this game, me and Britt were kind of talking before the pod about it. Just like, I think it's a stepping stone game. You're done getting blown out by 50 when you play a top 5 team. It's really good to see that you're going to compete. You're going to have a chance to win late. Now it's just about getting over the hump in all these games. But shout out to the defense in the second half. They only gave up 6 points, 3 until like 2 minutes to go in the fourth, when they gave up their last field goal when Vanderbilt went for it on a 4th down at their own 30-something yard line. So, overall, I don't think it's nothing to be too disappointed about in the performance. Definitely, you had chances to win this game, and if you ask me, you should have won this game, just based off the opportunities that you had from the defense and the other team. Me and Britt also talked about the refs before this podcast started. The refs have been bad this year in general. Overall, look at the referees, look at the job that they've done. There's been multiple instances, Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, LSU. I didn't get to watch the UT Bama game. Britt says they were bad. I'm sure they were.
Yeah, there's like 24 flags.
Refs have just been bad this year in general. And to me, you can't call any legal formation because the wide receiver's shoulders were not square. When you haven't seen it called all year, it's on the other side of the field, and it did not affect the play at all. I don't like that call. I agree with Clark Lee. I think it's over officiating. I think it's bogus. That's kind of my opening there. It was long, but Britt?
To me, to kind of touch on that, one of the most frustrating calls is the call that the action that was flagged had nothing to do with the outcome of the play. Now, I understand like an unsportsmanlike conduct or like an illegal hands to the face on the line. Like I understand those aren't good. But if there's a hold like on the other side of the field or like ineligible receiver downfield, if there's a lineman on like that's ridiculous. Those are the ones that make me so mad. So not to say, I mean, like you said before the podcast, Joseph.
That's right.
Is it in the rule book? Yes.
Yes.
Can they throw a flag? Yes. But like, there's holding on every play.
Yep.
We don't see
There's
a flag
holding all
on
the
every
time.
play.
No. And my thing is just be consistent. Like if you're gonna call that on Vandy, then when UT's running fast and a wide receiver's looking towards the quarterback to get the play and the quarterback doesn't see him and calls hut, I better see an illegal formation every time. And I use Tennessee just because, not even necessarily this year, but in the past you've seen them go super fast. Ole Miss, another team that likes to move fast. Teams that move fast, those guys are not getting perfectly shoulder squares with the line of scrimmage every time they snap the ball. This is ridiculous.
Also,
Like,
you can snap the ball while somebody's in motion.
yeah. And we're talking about his shoulders not being square. And they were saying, well, if he would have just been a step back off the line of scrimmage, then they wouldn't have called it. But because he was on the line of scrimmage, his shoulders have to be square. And like I said, that's fine. It's in the rule book, whatever. But that's going to be the only time we see the flag all year. That's what makes it frustrating. Is just you called it when a coach is a 20-point underdog. He had the nuts to go for it on his own 30-something yard line, 4th and 1 in the first quarter, still 3 minutes to go in a tie game, just to try to get his team over the hump. And you called that back because a wide receiver's shoulders were not square on the opposite side of the field from the way that the reverse handoff went. That's what we're calling. And that's my problem, is that ultimately, and also another blunder was the punt. The punt, every football game I've ever watched on a punt, a guy's had to establish himself with the football somewhere in between both end zones, to make it simple. So he's got to establish himself at the 1. He catches the punt at the 1. He falls into the end zone, throws it behind him, ball rolls into the end zone, and somehow it's down at the 1, apparently because the ref had an inadvertent whistle at the 1-yard line. So we get screwed because the ref sucks. That's why we get screwed. You just screwed us. And listen, people can say whatever they want to about, well, Vanderbilt still has a chance to drive 99 yards, and you do, but starting your drive from the 1, especially in college football, sucks so bad. You are so limited to what plays you can call. You're pretty much just trying to get out, get about to the 8-9 yard line, so you got enough room to punt and get out of there and try to avoid getting a safety and giving them an extra possession. You totally screwed a drive out of Vandy by putting them at the 1. And ultimately, like I said, it happened because the ref sucks, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so the SEC, Greg Sankey is going to type us up a nice apology letter. We're sorry we messed up. Well, Greg, sorry. That doesn't really help me very much. It helps me if I see the ref get fired. That's what helps me. That's what helps me go to sleep, is the ref gets punished.
And the reason they don't do that is because the ref is is just a normal guy. This is just like a side gig for him. So if we had full-time refs, I don't even know if that's possible. It would be different, but
I don't see why it's not possible. Think about how much money's in college football. Can we not allot a couple million to pay some refs and make an organization? We can't allot $5 million to make an organization and pay some refs. I don't care. We can pay them $100,000 a year. That's fine. I don't care. But you're telling me somebody would not be a full-time ref for $60,000 a year and only have to work 16 weeks out of the year. Like, you could pay them okay money because they're not going to have to work that much. You don't even have to allot that much money towards it. So that's a big thing. Refs have sucked altogether. Fix the refs. Make a ref association. Stop messing around with all the conference refs. It's stupid, and they all suck.
Well, here's the thing. anything that will cost the SEC or the NCAA money that they don't feel the need to do is not going to happen. Go turn on a football game. I bet there's a football game on tonight. I bet somebody's playing tonight. Look how many commercials there are. If you're at the stadium, watch how many times that red hat walks out on the field and stops play for a commercial break. Look at the logos on some of the fields. Like it's all about money. Which
No, it is.
I understand. I'm a pig going to the trough to receive my slop every week. It's all about money. And I was watching the Oklahoma game, the Tennessee Oklahoma game. I was so mad. Or no, it was the Florida game. I was so mad watching it. And every commercial would just infuriate me. I was like, money, 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 money. Give me my money. That made me so mad just thinking about nothing is sacred anymore.
No, it's really not. Vanderbilt's defense, though, like I said, I did want to talk about them a little bit more. Played good. They're doing a great job. They're getting pressure because they did have 4 sacks in this game, more than everybody else combined. If you leave out Georgia, you had 4 sacks. When they're not getting pressure, they're getting their hands up and getting batted balls. That's where you get both the picks from. Miles Capers had a pick off the D line, turning around a little nice over the shoulder catch, and then Martell Hyde had one off the Langston Patterson bat. So they're doing a great job. Shout out to our D-line. I think they've really stepped up. You watched Vanderbilt just get banged up. You watched Diego Pavia leave for a couple plays in the 2-minute warning. Or maybe that was a TV timeout. But regardless, he was in the injury tent for probably about 6-7 minutes total. Nate Johnson came in, made a nice throw. Had a nice 11-yard carry as well. But he's banged up. Diego's banged up. Eli Stowers played less than 50% of snaps. He's banged up. A lot of our guys are pretty banged up, but I think that you're in the home stretch now. You've got 4 games to go. You've got to be ready to play. You go on the road to Auburn next week. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this game, just because the refs chances to win, but just wanted to touch on them. Vanderbilt played a C+ game and lost by 3 to the number 5 team in the country. I don't know how bad or how mad you can really be about that, other than saying they've got to play better, they've got to tackle better. Diego's got to hit a couple more throws here and there. O-line's got to create a couple more holes. So you can nitpick those things, but you're a 20-point underdog. You come in and you gave them hell. You would like to see you pull that game off. This isn't a moral victory though. Getting close is not going to cut it for this program anymore. Clark Lee said that. I loved it. You're here to win football games, so see if you can't. You're 5-3 right now. The goal is to be 9-3 when the season ends, and so that's where I'll leave it at the Texas game. Close. You just didn't get it done. Let's turn the page and let's get busy.
Yeah, and as the season progresses, taking a look at Vanderbilt's defense, in conference outside of Alabama, you gave up 35 points against Alabama. You won, so it doesn't matter. Vanderbilt's defense has not given up more than 30 points in a conference game outside of Alabama, a game that you won. If your defense can hold a team to 30 points, I know that's not ideal, but if you're trying to get to 30 points, I mean, you have a chance in most games to score. Like 30 points is not anything crazy to do. So that's why you said Vanderbilt's not going to get blown out by any top 5 teams anymore. If their defense can play like this, like if you can say, hey, Texas only scores 27 points, okay, I think Vandy with Diego Pavia in their offense this year, I think you take that. Yeah.
And I mean, not in this game because Vanderbilt only possessed the ball 28 minutes and 50 seconds in this game. But a lot of the defense is not giving up a lot of points. Is credit to the offense because they hold the ball so much. In other games, they've kind of built the defense out. The defense has kind of gotten ran over when they've been on the field, but the offense is just being good enough to hold the ball for a long time and keep the defense off the field. Vanderbilt had their worst 3rd down conversion rate, but I mean, hey, you look at it and you say the defense had their best game of the season. If the offense can just do what they've shown you that they can do outside of this Texas, in every other game outside of Texas, I think you can. There's not a reason that you can't win a game left on the schedule. And so you just look at it and you hope they can get it from all three, facets of the game. Special teams have looked good. Brock Taylor as a unit made another 54-yard field goal this week. So special teams is great. Offense has got to click. Got to try to get healthy, but like where they're at, 5-3, a game away from bowling. I think the ceiling is much higher than that though. So we'll hold out hope for an SEC championship path for now.
Yeah, Vandy's got some winnable games coming up for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
UT, they be sleeping. They've been on that bye. They took a nap this week.
I took the bye week as well as the Tennessee Vols to get healthy, which is good. Josh Heupel off the bye week before this year. This year you lost off a bye week. Has been pretty good. And you're playing a team in Kentucky that is in a pretty bad spot, both mentally and on the field as a football team. They're just not playing very well. If you look at one moment here, if you look at Kentucky's last 5, they lost to Vanderbilt, obviously, which Kentucky's standards are way higher than they should be, at least in their mind. Now, you can go 8-4 and coach at Kentucky forever, but they think that they're a lot better team than they actually are. Kentucky, who did they lose to? I'm trying to pull up their last 5.
I got you.
I know they lost to Vanderbilt, Florida, and Auburn.
Yeah, their last 5 here, I got it pulled up. So obviously this past weekend they lost to Auburn 24-10. They lost to Florida the week before that 48-20. Lost to Vanderbilt the week before that 20-13. Beat Ole Miss the week before that 20-17. Beat Ohio and then lost to Georgia by 1 and lost to South Carolina 31-6. And then we're just going to go through their whole schedule because there's only one game left. They beat Southern Miss to open the season 31-0. So their wins are Southern Miss, Ohio, and Ole Miss. So they own the state of Mississippi at least.
That's true.
So good for them.
Yeah, Saturday they benched Brock Vandegrift for a while.
I seen that.
I thought it was kind of dumb. Brock Vandegrift sucks, but the backup sucks.
UT and Vanderbilt's opponents played each other this past weekend. Their opponents this week played each other. It was Auburn and Kentucky. I think the big storyline here is Jacquees Hunter having his big game, 23 carries, 278 yards rushing for 12 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. When they started feeding him, it honestly was pretty much over. You didn't ask Peyton Thorne to do a lot. He was 20 of 26 for 170 yards, a touchdown and a pick. I don't think Peyton Thorne's very good. I don't think Hugh Freeze is a great coach. I won't focus too much on either one of them yet. Flipping over to Kentucky side, but Brock Vandegrift, 9 for 17, 120 yards and a pick. Their leading rusher, Patterson, had 6 carries for 38 yards. I mean, honestly, their offense cannot do anything. Their offense is just simply not good. That's just what it comes down to. Their offense has pretty much struggled all year. And they can't get it done. And their defense, their D line is definitely the strength of their team, and it wasn't on Saturday.
I think Kentucky is just dead. I think they don't think they're going to win, which I don't blame them. Kentucky just doesn't beat Tennessee outside of games that don't count during the global pandemic. Kentucky just doesn't beat Tennessee. So I don't look too much into this game. Tennessee dominates. Mark Stoops, you look like John Pork. You're a loser. Vanderbilt owns you. What else? Oh, yeah. Adolph Rupp was a racist. You cheated in basketball in the 1800s. That's the only reason you're good. Anthony Davis is ugly.
Okay.
Tyler Hero wished he was a different race. What else?
Everything negative.
Jack Harlow sucks.
We hate you, Josh Bush. He's actually Jack Harlow is a Louisville fan, but I mean, I guess people in Kentucky like Jack Harlow though, but that's okay. But we hate you, Josh Bush, Kentucky fan. But no, if Tennessee or if Kentucky does something in this game at all, the only thing I'll say about it is be because their defensive line. It'll be Keyshawn Silver. It'll be those guys causing ruckus up front for Tennessee, which I think could happen, but I don't think it's the most likely scenario. So I kind of agree with Britt here. And it's going to be a big win for Tennessee. I think the spread's 15.5. So Vegas thinks it's a 2-score game as well.
Yeah, Tyler Childers went woke and then he fell off. You back in the coal mine so I can charge my iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee's going to dominate.
I used to back Britt off of the Kentucky hate, but Kentucky fans were so weird the week before the Vandy game because they were on a bye week from Ole Miss to in between the Kentucky and Vanderbilt game. And like after we beat Bama, they're all just flooding the mentions, like saying how they're going to beat us and like their defensive line is going to dominate. And now it's South Carolina fans doing the same thing. That's just weird behavior. So now, if once you're weird, yeah, I don't care. Britt can crap on you. Basically, screw you, Kentucky fans.
It's bottom feeder behavior.
That's very true. It's just weird.
But Tennessee fans are not really worried about Kentucky. We're more worried about the narrative that is being formed across America that Tennessee is not going to make the college football playoff. It is worrying. It is worrying, Joseph. I don't know if you've looked into this very much, but it's got to the point where it's getting so crowded with all these, I don't want to say mid teams, but mid teams that could go undefeated and have a good record and get in over Tennessee just because they're popular. Also, if you look at Tennessee's schedule, have you looked at Tennessee's schedule, Joseph?
The rest of the way?
Just as a whole?
No, I've not.
Tennessee, I mean, obviously Alabama's your best win. Outside of that, if you don't beat Georgia, you really didn't beat anybody. Currently, Tennessee has 4 teams on their schedule that are projected to make a bowl game. And that is Vanderbilt, Georgia, Alabama, and Arkansas. So
Yeah.
I think Vanderbilt's a game that Tennessee should win. Georgia's a game that Tennessee probably is expected not to win. So if you get to the end of the season and you're looking to get into the playoff, assuming you win all your other games, you played 4 teams that are bowl eligible and you only beat 2 of them. And resume-wise, I don't think that is very good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, Boise State's probably going to go undefeated and not play a soul. Indiana's going to go undefeated maybe in the Big Ten. Probably not. There's several ACC teams that are going to be right up there at the top. So I'm preparing myself mentally for Tennessee to have to beat Alabama to be in the playoff.
They did beat Alabama.
Or
You
Georgia.
don't have to prepare yourself for that. They did it. They did it already, man.
They're going to have to beat Georgia to get in the playoff.
They release new strength of schedules every week because it changes, right? So like ultimately preseason Vanderbilt was number 5 in the country. Obviously things change, teams get better, teams get worse. New strength of schedule came out this week. College Football Network has Tennessee as 65th in the country. That is out of 134 FBS teams. I pull that up to say because that is one of the College Football Playoff Committee's number one things they look at picking teams. They look at your strength of schedule to give you some just like other teams. Alabama's at 69, a little bit behind Tennessee there. In the end, let's see, there were some other SEC teams pretty close. Missouri's at 53, A&M's at 51. Let's see here.
Where's Indiana at?
Georgia's at 40. I will find Indiana here in just a second. Oklahoma's at 32. South Carolina's at 29. I know Vanderbilt's at 9 right now. You said Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where they're at really quick. But yeah, I do think, though, this is a pretty big hypothetical because I've looked at it. I think a lot of it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of parity in college football this year, and I think people are overlooking that, and they're already chalking up teams that just because in the past you would have chalked them up as a win. I think people are doing that as well. And so that's my biggest thing is I think 90% of this ends up taking care of itself. If Tennessee goes 10-2, they're making the playoff. I say that with 100% certainty. I have no problem saying that. I do not see Indiana. Where are they at?
But if you look at the ACC, a conference that's I think many people would say is not very good.
Right.
there are 4 teams that can still make the playoff that have 1 loss or less. In the Big 12, there are 3 teams with 1 loss or less. That's 7 total. In the Big 10, there are 4 teams that can still make the playoff. Ohio State is the only one with 1 loss, so that's 11 teams.
Indiana's 27.
Okay. And then you look at the SEC, and there's still 4 teams that can make the playoff. And Tennessee can go 11-1, and I don't even know if they'll be in the SEC championship.
Yeah. See, I'm on the complete opposite side. I think absolute chaos happens from here. So I think that if Vanderbilt wins out at 9-3, you give yourself a really, which obviously we would be knocking out 2 teams out of the SEC championship, LSU and Tennessee. So we would knock out both of them ourselves. So you have 2 of them to get out of the way yourself. If you beat both of them, you're ahead of them in head-to-head, and you don't have, and they'll have 2 conference losses just like you, and you won't have to worry about them no more. So you knock 2 of them out of the way. But you still have A&M above you, Texas above you, and Georgia above you. Well, if you pull up, let's pull up everybody's schedule really quick. We're going to pull up Texas's first.
But also, you can't play in the SEC championship with 3 losses.
You can. You just can. I mean,
you shouldn't.
You people have done it in the past. I mean, it literally has happened.
When's the last time? With divisions.
I think 12. I think 12 might have been the last time. But Texas plays Florida this week. Then they go at Arkansas. They play Kentucky at home, and they play A&M. Texas could easily drop 2 of those games. Easily drop 2 of those, I think. I would not be shocked if Texas dropped 2 of those games. I'll put it that way. A&M, when you look at their schedule, I think they're the most likely team to win out. As far as what they have left, they have Texas their last game of the season. That's their biggest test. Georgia goes to Ole Miss, or they play Florida this week, and then they go to Ole Miss. They get Tennessee back at home. They get UMass and Georgia Tech. Georgia's another team. They could drop 2 of those games. I think Florida could beat Georgia this week. I'll be the first one to come out and say it. I think Florida could beat Georgia. I think it would be hilarious if they did. If Georgia comes out a little overhyped, they did have the bye. Kirby's exceptional out of the bye. But if they come out a little hot-headed, Florida has just looked better. And I think Lagway is a good fit for the offense. So I think you could see a path where Florida wins. Tennessee could beat Georgia as well. Georgia hasn't really totally impressed me. Georgia's got a good defense, but their offense is pretty lackluster, I believe. So I think a lot of this takes care of itself in the end. I think there are going to be, like, the first 8 teams or 7 teams in the playoff, I think will end up being undefeated, though. I think I could see Indiana going undefeated, staying up top. A&M, I think, could go undefeated, stay up top. Oregon as well. They don't really play any games the rest of the year. They could go undefeated. Penn State, if they get past Ohio State, could also go undefeated. That's really the game they got to win. They just got to beat Ohio State. They can go undefeated. So, I think there could be several undefeated teams.
Where it sucks and where I think it needs to be reworked is you have teams like Notre Dame who, I don't care what happens. If you lose to Northern Illinois at home, you have no shot to win a national championship. Like, if that happened in week 12, they would not be put in. But yet they're projected as the number 7 team right now, at least on the college football playoff rankings. Indiana. Let's look at who Indiana's beat. FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington. They play Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue. So they play one good team this year. They play Ohio State.
Indiana,
Michigan's probably, I don't want to say they're a better team than Indiana. They're probably more talented than Indiana. So they play 2 teams that are more talented than them.
Yes.
So I'm just negative because I know how the college football world feels about Tennessee. And I know that they're going to look at Tennessee's schedule, who they've beaten, and say, so their best win's Alabama. That's a good win. This is assuming we lose to Georgia. Their best win's Alabama. Their next best win is who? Beating Florida at home in overtime? This Florida team? Or beating Oklahoma, who might go 5-7, or beating NC State, who was ranked but now is terrible. They might win like 4 games.
You could have a 8-win Vandy. That would probably be your next best win.
It would be.
So, I mean, I'm not saying 8 wins is the most probable, but I'm saying you could have it.
But the only reason I have any hope right now is because of the AP poll, and Tennessee's at 7. But I think if the college football playoff rankings came out right now, Tennessee would be at like
10.
14 or 15.
I don't think so. I think they'll be at like 10 or 11. That's where I would have them personally. I'd have them like 11. I think there's a lot of questions. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of questions with the playoff. But like, well, first of all, Vanderbilt's only way in now is to win the conference. If you win the conference, you get an automatic bid. So win the conference, you're in the playoff. Simple as that for Vandy, because it's your only way. So you got to hope some teams lose. But I kept saying that if you went 9-3, if Vanderbilt went 9-3, and they had the correct wins, like if Vanderbilt won to beat Texas and LSU, but lost to Tennessee, or lost to LSU and beat Tennessee, and you went 9-3, I just said the resume would be too good for me personally not to vote them in. Like, I know they have 3 losses. That's what I'm saying. I don't think if Tennessee has 2 losses, it's not even a question whether they get left out. I think they're 100% in.
It's just something has to be reworked. And I'm not saying this, I'm not looking at this from a Tennessee standpoint at all. But on no planet would I rather watch Boise State play in the playoff. There's no way I would rather watch them play than Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt was 9-3, there's no planet where I would rather watch Boise State play football.
Right, and I get that too. Like, I get that argument, and I'm glad people are saying that. I mean, Vanderbilt's been fun to watch, but like ultimately, it's not about who's more fun to watch. It's about who's taking care of business week in and week out and got it done.
Is it about that? Is it about resume, or is it about who's the best team? I understand if you have 4 losses, you're definitely out. If you have 3, you're probably out. But yeah,
I think it's a little bit of both. Resume matters, but resume ties in so much stuff. It ties in strength of schedule. It ties in your margin of victory, which is big. It ties in a lot of stuff. So when you're saying resume, you're tying in a lot of stuff. That 100% matters. It also matters of who, because all you can do, I said this with Florida State last year, all you can do is win the games on your schedule. You make these schedules 5 years out. You don't know who's going to be good and who's going to be bad. All you can do is win the games on your schedule. So to me, any team that goes undefeated is in. If they go undefeated, they're in. Simple math for me. They go undefeated, they're in. Now, the only way that doesn't happen is if now with conferences getting so big, like there's a way where Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon all go undefeated. And guess what?
Which is crazy.
And guess what? Oregon only beat Ohio State by 1. So do you know what it would come down to? Margin of victory over Ohio State, because that's their best common opponent. Well, if Penn State...
That's so lame. That's not right.
What's it called? Indiana, if they both beat Ohio State, assuming they beat them by more than 1 point, they're going to the conference championship, and undefeated Oregon is at number 1 in the polls, is sitting like, how are we not playing in the conference championship? Now, they probably wouldn't even be mad about it because you get an extra week to prepare. So you're probably not even mad. But I'm just saying, that is insane. We've made conferences almost too big, I think.
Here's where I have a problem with that. What if something happens on the last drive of a football game and the backup quarterback has to come into the game and throws a pick 6? And that causes a team to not make the playoff.
Yeah. No,
that's stupid.
I think margin of victory is kind of stupid. Like I don't necessarily like it at all. With the way that they do it. But, it's not my decision. So whatever.
And you can't tell me that's not intentional for the Big Ten to have those 3 teams not play each other.
Well,
Indiana, scratch Indiana, but
well, you got to think though, it could have easily happened in the SEC this year. It could have easily happened. I mean, if Texas and Georgia played, but if Bama takes care of business in their games, they could have went undefeated. A&M still can go undefeated.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? The SEC could have easily had 3 or 4 teams go undefeated as well this year. They just self-cannibalized pretty much, and I think that's what's going to continue to happen. I don't think Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn Penn State and Indiana will go undefeated. I would be shocked if Penn State beats Ohio State. But enough playoffs. We're still a little bit out from there. Moving on, Vanderbilt plays Auburn this week in Auburn, Alabama. Britt says, the most beautiful campus in the SEC, Mr. Britt?
It's beautiful. I don't know if I'd say it's the most beautiful.
Okay, Britt says it's beautiful. We do play Auburn. This is what I'll say about Auburn. I'm going to make this recap really quick. One, Hugh Freeze is scum. You DM me on Twitter years back, asked me to take down a post. I shouldn't have. You're a pedophile. You're hooker Hugh Freeze. Okay? We don't like you. You suck. You talk bad on Vandy. Or, no, he's not a pedophile. My bad. I didn't mean to
He's a pervert.
He's a pervert. He's a pervert. He's not a pedophile. He's a pervert. Hooker Hugh Freeze, we hate this guy. Calls escorts off the university phone. What an idiot. Called us Navy. Said we had a lesser roster than him. Screw this guy. We're pounding him. Next thing is Peyton Thorne also sucks. Not scared of him at all. And they've just been talking too much crap, and Vegas has as a touchdown underdog. With all that being said, Vanderbilt's going B2A this weekend. Big win for the Doors. I'm not breaking this game down, mostly because my laptop is on 9% and I don't have my charger. So that's the biggest thing, is that my laptop is dying. I'm not breaking this game down. Really simple for me. Big win for Vanderbilt. Keeps our SEC championship long shot hopes alive. So, big win.
When does Auburn consider firing Hugh Freeze?
Now, if you ask me. Now. You should consider it now. He's not good.
Vandy at plus 6.5.
I know. Vegas, man, they still don't believe. I get it, but I don't really get it. So, yeah, there's that. It's time for picks.
Yeah.
It's time for picks.
Yep.
Britt, do you have your picks? You want to go first this week?
Yep, you go first, though.
Okay, but I said, do you have your picks and do you want to go first? And you said yes, but you go first.
I have picks. You go first.
Okay, got it. My first pick is simple. Lock of the week, Vanderbilt money line. I have a 2-pick parlay of Vanderbilt and Tennessee money line together, $100 on it. If you want to make a little side parlay, give me Vanderbilt money line. Next game is Penn State and Ohio State. Give me Penn State plus 4.5 this weekend against Ohio State. It's at home. It is an 11 a.m. kickoff. Crazy things happen. I like the plus 4.5 there for Penn State. Ole Miss plays Arkansas. Arkansas is plus 7.5 at home. Honestly, I think Lane Kiffin should also have talks about the hot seat. I think Lane Kiffin is no longer a good football coach. Yeah. He has lost his touch. With that being said, and rumors swirling that program, I think they're dead. Give me Arkansas plus 7.5. Next game is Minnesota at Illinois. Somehow the ranked Illinois are underdogs at home. That's too much bait for me. Give me Illinois plus the 3 points. Illinois plus the 3 points there. And then for the final game, give me Tennessee minus 13.5 against Kentucky.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I also like Arkansas. I got in at plus 7 against Ole Miss at home. If I'm Florida, listen, Florida, I hate you. I don't want you to succeed. So if you want to make me happy, you will hire Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is like a keg of gunpowder about to explode. Not good in a bad way. Okay. I like Vandy plus 6.5 at Auburn. 6.5 is crazy.
6.5 is wild when they haven't been good.
I like Oregon minus 15 in the Big House. I hate Michigan. If y'all didn't know, I hate Michigan.
Known hater.
I hate Michigan. I've got over 45.5 in the Tennessee-Kentucky game. I think Tennessee's offense explodes this game. I think Tennessee covers 45 by themselves.
Okay.
That's my hot take.
Okay, there's a hot take.
And I got Texas A&M money line. They're currently 2.5-point favorites at South Carolina.
I'll tell you what. Don't sprinkle the Vandy money line. Hammer it. But if you want other underdogs to go get Arkansas money line, sprinkle that thing. South Carolina money line. Sprinkle that thing.
I would be fine with that.
Their defensive line is good. A&M is – listen, here's the thing about A&M that people just – I don't really think are realizing yet. Mike Elko, if you ask me, is the second best head coach in the SEC. I said that before he came in the SEC. I said he was one of the best coaches in the country. I still think that. He's got unlimited resources at A&M. They're going to win a national championship with Mike Elko. I'll say that. I believe in him. Think he's a great coach. I wouldn't put him above Kirby. But I'm not betting against A&M. So I wouldn't hammer it simply because they have Mike Elko. That's what I was trying to get to. But, yeah, there it is. You know what it is. It's Pavia Mania. We got Hennon on that shirt. He plays for the Lions. Shout out. Anchor down. You know what it is. Also, horns down. Texas still sucks.
Go Vols. Goodbye.
Goodbye.